Hey there. As always, we would like to begin the episode by thanking some people. People like Nick, Xenolalia, Patrick Moore, Ben Robson, and Jesse Stanchak. All of these are people who have gone to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and supported us. It's a great way for you to get extra content and also a great way to help us continue making these shows like we do. Once again, that's patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Thank you.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are continuing our discussion of Dragon Age 2, our modern BioWare RPG.
Yeah. Not as modern as it could be.
Right.
But pretty modern.
And we're not going to do Anthem.
Yeah, we're slowly moving up the BioWare chain. Neverwinter Nights 2.
Yeah.
You know, Baldur's Gate. This.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's probably it. Someday we'll do a Mass Effect. I could see doing Origins at some point.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we shall see. We're talking about Act 2 today. The next episode is going to be Act 3, which is shorter, and then the 2 DLCs.
Which are also very short.
Yeah, which I played for the first time with this playthrough. I had not touched those.
Same.
Prior to this. So that was, it was interesting to have this kind of behind me.
Yeah.
You know? Do the complete Dragon Age 2.
Also, as a programming note, Adaptation Decay this month is going to be about the Dragon Age web series Redemption, I believe is what it's called. The kind of tie into the Mark of the Assassin DLC.
Yeah, the Dragon Age DLC where they introduced Felicia Day.
Yeah. Just Felicia Day.
Hello, I've been transported to Dragon Age.
I've been digitized.
I was a librarian in New York. Yeah, it was interesting. We're recording this, the last time I just basically got through Act 1. Now we're recording it and I've beat the game. So I have all these final evaluations and kind of thoughts from the fatigue.
Yeah.
That comes from 55 hours of Dragon Age 2 in my head. And some of that stuff does come through in this episode, and we'll talk about it. Like, they're not really generalities, but there are some kind of I do like this game. There are some weaknesses that became very apparent.
Yeah.
To play. And the biggest one, and I think this is Act 2 is the one piece of counter evidence to this. But there's a thing in this game where the world that they created is this huge limiting factor for what can be. So every quest, almost every quest is like a bad Templar or a bad mage for the entire game.
Yep.
It's kind of amazing. Like this is the act where we deal with the Qunari, which is much more interesting.
Right.
And that's really cool. But even the side quests within this, there's just a lot of, all the mages are blood mages. All the Templars are monsters.
Yeah.
There's a canonical explanation for this, that we learn that Kirkwall is kind of a haunted city. And that kind of comes through in the DLC. We'll talk about that a little bit. But at the same time, it does mean that this is like a whole town full of single issue voters.
Just everybody is cranked up to a dumb extreme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Including your companions, which ends up being kind of a bummer. Like likable empties. A lot of these people,
yeah,
I think are.
Yep. No, just so like, and even the stuff that involves the actual Qunari, like it's always like a bad mage or a bad Templar behind it, using them to amplify their, to accelerate basically the conflict that they want to have happen.
Yes. Yeah. And then once it happens, they're all whiny. What the heck?
No,
Anders did you solid, everybody.
If it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah. The consequences of my own Anders. So there's time jumps in this game between every act. So now between, this is a rags or riches story. In part 2, we have a lot of money. We have a mansion now because the treasure from the deep roads.
We're moving on up from low town to high town. You have repurchased your ancestral estate, and all your buddies. They're going to be wherever they were. Nobody visibly ages. Nobody changes clothes until the very end. It's pretty funny. But yeah, we learned this in the motion comic introduction to this as Varric is continuing his interrogation with Cassandra. For me, because of what happened in the Deep Roads, because I brought Carver, he did survive as a Grey Warden, but we didn't learn that for months. The Grey Wardens had left Kirkwall and taken him with them.
Yeah. Whereas I just mourned dead Bethany.
Right.
I'm here. The Qunari have not left 3 years on. They say that they're waiting on their ship. The reason why the Qunari cannot leave or cannot do anything is really interesting. Here, like this is the best act of the game.
Yes.
And has the best quest and the most interesting, it kind of becomes about systems of ruling, for a second before it just goes back to the X-Men debate.
Right.
That the rest of the game is about.
I love the politics in this, and I love like the religion and philosophy, the conflict between the Qunari and kind of this monoculture that exists everywhere that is not the Qunari. This chantry, that worships the Maker and worships Andraste, right? Like even though the mages and the Templars and the Chantry seem to be at odds with each other, everybody fundamentally believes the same thing, and fundamentally kind of believes in this, at least here in the Free Marches, this kind of mixture between like a theocracy and monarchy and like a little bit of like a liberal democracy. Like a huge problem that results from this chapter is a power vacuum that the Templars fill, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's going to be exacerbated in Act 3. As we start off, like Hawke walks into the Viscount's office, introducing this Baldy. The Viscount has received a missive from the Arishok requesting Hawke by name. And this is the first request they've made in 4 years. So they have been the sleeping giant. They have been the Balkan powder keg.
Thanks, Dan Carlin.
They have been. So we're going to kind of go through the quests of this. We didn't catch on everything. I want to remind everybody, Isabella is missable.
Yep.
If you're going to replay this with us, if you just don't, and there's nothing that tells you to go get Isabella. Like you just happen to go to the bar and Isabella is there.
Yep. No,
and she's a really big part of this act, which I know from the first time I played and from reading about it.
I'm very curious to see what happens when she is not around, when she's not a factor.
It's just a mystery. They still talk about the artifact, but nobody ever talks about, like, it's just this weird dangler.
Huh.
Like, nobody is ever like, well, we could find the fucking artifact for you, man. It's just a mystery. It's just gone.
Weird.
Because she disappeared. It is so weird that the only mandatory, there are only a couple of mandatory characters in this game. And Isabella is not only not mandatory, but they don't even give you a quest marker to find her.
Right. Like, it's not like you've heard rumors of this pirate who is active.
Like Varric introduces you, like he does with Anders. They
have the same home base.
They even shop at the same store. It's really weird. And for the entire game, I had this weird, just empty spot in my roster. And it's less satisfying.
That's
than
extremely.
It would have been if she had been there.
Extremely strange, because I did not remember her playing such a big role, which almost makes me believe that I didn't have Isabella with the first time that I played, and it was a mystery, like what was keeping them here. So
It's Yeah, it's really strange. Well, she has nothing to do with the Mages and Templars.
Nothing.
Like the Act 2 is her time to shine. Mm-hmm. And I'm involved. And then as soon as like, the tensions actually come to a head, she's like, I don't care.
Yeah. There are conversations that come up between her and Anders when they're both in your party, where he is like desperately trying to get her to take a side. And she is like, not my pig, not my farm, basically, is what she says each time. Like she does not give a fuck about this pretty basic power struggle that pops up in every single civilization in this fucking world.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, because it's a BioWare RPG. They only came up with so many concepts. Like, and then so everyone has to revolve around those concepts. Like you don't have the Forgotten Realms to like draw on. So like the idea of not having an opinion about one of the two conflicts that exist in the world is very weird. It'd be like if in our world, if there was only abortion and guns, everything else was taken care of.
Yeah.
Every single other thing was addressed. And you just being like, I don't care. Let people do it. Let people shoot each other and let people abort each other. I don't give a shit.
Let the blood flow.
Yeah. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Give me something to break. I did it all for the nookie. Like, be like that. So you can get that cookie. So yeah, let's go through those quests here.
Yeah, let's do this. So we did not just get a nice home. Our mother came along with us. Eventually you can invite your romantic partner to live here, but also we have some shitty comedy relief dwarfs just kind of puttering around.
They show up.
We have Bodan and we have Sandal kind of hanging around being our manservants. Bodan rushes up and says, "Hey, you're paying from the deep roads. We sold the last of the treasure. Here you go. And also avail yourself of my shitty son to make your materia, I guess."
And also I live here.
Yes.
No bedroom, please. I'll stand.
Yep, I will just hang myself by the neck from the coat rack. We call it astronaut bunking.
Yeah. Yep. So we get our estate. We can hang out here. And check it out. There's like little trinkets from past adventures we can click on. This is also between last episode and this episode. Remember, last episode I didn't have Sebastian. I figured that out. So then my house became flooded with treasure as all of the DLCs loaded in.
Yeah.
And then a dog. Like I went and I was like fucked around with my Origin account and then came home and it was just overflowing with end game items.
Yeah, it's your dog. It is a dog who is here. He's always been your dog. Bark, bark.
It's very surreal. But we'll talk about the dog in the next episode since he's technically a dog loadable content. And we'll want to talk about that very cute pupper who's not as useful as I want him to be.
Yeah, well, nothing can be as useful as the pupper in Origins.
Yeah, Origins was a good pupper.
Yeah.
So time kind of passes here. Aveline comes to visit to kind of wake us out of our montage stupor and put us back into an act. Because Emmerich, a Templar that we'd worked with before, is hassling her. He thinks that the spate of murders in the city is connected. Aveline is skeptical, and you either need to go solve the murders or shut him up.
Yes. So that will lead to a main quest called Prime Suspect. I'm going to put that a little bit later in this because that's basically like the mid-act climax here. There's another quest that we can get. We can follow this this letter that the Viscount gave us, saying, "All right, well, let's go." He asked for, the Arishok asked for us by name, and the Viscount is very put upon. Like, he is one of two people in this that just wants to be left alone, which is real funny because you sought out public office, dog.
Yeah, it's not a good posture for a politician.
No.
Why is everyone being mean to me? He gets his. We go in.
It's proportional.
Yeah, it's proportional. Like, we go and talk to the Arishok, and the Arishok says that dwarf that we worked for before, who wanted their gunpowder, thinks that he's stolen a recipe for it, but really that was a decoy that they had that makes a poison gas that doesn't hurt Qunari, but does drive people into a murder frenzy.
Yeah, it's the drug from Jacob's Ladder.
Yes. Yeah. And he's letting us know this just as a courtesy. Like, you're going to want to handle this. Like, that's basically how he says it. Like, you will want to know this.
Yeah.
But he also wants to know how we handle it.
Right. He has taken a keen interest in us. He took an interest in me because I had the aggressive tact. And he just wants to see how bloodthirsty I get with this, or how decisive I am. But, he has been spending these past 4 years observing, basically, and kind of passing judgment on not just the Kirkwall, but like all non-Qunari worshipping humanity.
He's well on his way to becoming a Qunari Joker. Who judges our society and finds it wanting.
I live in your society.
This is basically the Qunari Joker origins is Act 2.
Yeah. So we have a lead. There is a merchant in Lowtown who was working with this with this dwarf, saying, "Hey, he's out in the wilderness. If you want to go find him, he has also made problems for me. Maybe you can get my money back." And so we go out the end, we go through the smuggling tunnel, just one of the same dungeons we've been in 3 or 4 times before. And we get to fight some dwarf mercenary guards, at the very end out in the wilderness. And our buddy, the merchant, is not happy to see us at all. Turns out we have been used once more.
Yeah. We killed his guards for no reason. He did not take the recipe. An elf woman placed the blame on him.
Yes, the one who sent us on the way. Yeah.
Yes. So we have we can spare or let him leave town or kill him. I let him leave because I'm not playing as a monster. And then we go back to Lowtown, but the gas is already broken out. They've created ye old fantasy gas dispensers everywhere. And you had to fight waves upon waves of, insane citizens while finding little pieces of metal on the ground to close these ye old gas dispensing devices, Joker devices.
I got real I'm glad you said Joker again, not just because anything involving the Joker is funny, but I got real Arkham City vibes off of this, or Arkham Asylum. Oh boy, scarecrow gas is coming out of these barrels. You need to go around the map and close all these up. I just love that you pick up these latches off the ground to do it. So are you standing there with a power drill? Okay, we're gonna attach the hasp. All right, wait, no, sorry, my phone is loading up this old house tutorial on how to attach it. How to attach a hasp.
How to close a Joker barrel. This is fucking endless. A lot of the encounters in this game are fucking endless, but this one is fucking endless.
And we should explain one of the things that makes that happen and why it's so frustrating. When you go into an encounter, the initial enemies are not the only people that you find. Many waves will just kind of drop from out of thin air, making it kind of impossible to tactically plan. And maybe push them into a corner, or make sure that something doesn't take shots at you from behind. Anything can drop in at any time, anywhere.
And it also everything is so squishy that there is no point in kind of doing tactics.
Yes.
In this game, that's stuff we talked about in the last episode, but every problem and every strength in this game gets crystallized as it goes. As you go, it's wow, I spent a lot of time with Hawke. I know his history. This is actually, I like this character that I embodied because I did all this stuff with him. That's something that only happens through going through 3 acts with this guy.
Yeah.
Also, boy, am I fucking sick of this system of caves and these endless reinforcements and this combat engine and encounter design, neither of which is quite deep enough to be worth it.
Yeah, I wish it was worth casting a spell or throwing a grenade, because by the time that animation ends, everything that I want to kill will be dead.
There's 2 markers of this game where you can tell how sick of the combat you are, or sick of the mechanics of the game. One is when you stop using abilities, because like you said. The other is when you stop picking up loot.
Oh yeah.
Eventually I'm just I don't care. There's nothing you can give me. Everything is just the same collection of verbs. Plus 2% attack speed, plus 1 dexterity, and the min-maxing of comparing that to my plus 20 health, plus 20 attack is no longer fun for me. Constrained spaces, as BioWare's Ark is one of constraining the play space. And as they continue as a developer. And eventually, even within this game, it just like you just see the strings completely.
Yeah.
Or at least I did, where I was just like, I don't want anything. This game I'm playing on hard. It's not actually hard, and I don't want to bump it up to nightmare because it's like I'm playing this on a deadline.
Yeah. And also friendly fire would be a real problem.
Yeah. Friendly fire would make this like totally, different. It doesn't feel like a game that doesn't feel like it supports that really. And also it's a problem if I don't care about what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about my rewards. Like at the end of the game, I had 180 gold pieces.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And nothing to spend them on. It was ridiculous.
I had already bought all of the backpacks I could get in order to make sure that I had as much room as possible to pick up as much junk as possible. Junk that
Which I didn't need.
Yeah, it ended up mostly destroying so I could pick up more items that I didn't really need.
Yeah, I didn't need nor want.
Yeah.
It just, it's a bummer. We're not going to harp on that because, we're going to talk about the content of the quest, but boy, is it a thing.
Yeah.
As we're doing this elf woman appears and says she wanted to use this gunpowder to create incidents that they could blame the Qunari.
Right.
So she is a religious person. They're part of this like kind of sect. They resent the Qunari for accepting elves who are disenchanted with their own customs, and she feels that they're harming her culture.
Yeah.
By doing that.
This is a little bit of a nuance that I didn't really notice or feel the first time I played this because I had not seen this exact argument levied against Islam in the real world at that point. Like I never saw like the shitty bad argument of like they're taking over Western culture or whatever. It's like, oh, this person is extra shitty, not just because they did terrible things, but they're bigots. Not that I like the Qunari. It just sucks.
Yeah, it's a deeply cynical game. Like nobody is good, and all of our leaders will fail us, and we're powerless to stop it. Is the message of Dragon Age 2. So we go in and explain to this the Arashok, and he basically talks about his black pill about the city.
Yes,
the city is doomed. It's chaotic. It's this pustule and mire of people acting selfishly. And this is where he kind of explains like he is not lacking a ship. He lied. He won't leave until he recovers something that's stolen from him. And then also the most interesting part of this, and I can't remember if it's revealed here or later, but he can't like negotiate this because that's not what he does.
Right.
So the part of this act that is about criticizing systems of power that's kind of neat is that like, Kirkwall is an absolute fucking mess and every third person is a demon. But also the Qunari are so tied by their dogma that they can't even like negotiate these kind of like reparations for this lost artifact because we don't negotiate. We're warriors. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're stuck. Like
everybody's role and the actions that are available to them is determined by the Qun, to the point where people who are in the Qun do not have names. They are just named after their role, which is why you're going to fight a bunch of Stens. You think, okay, Sten was my companion in Dragon Age 1. Well, yeah, he had that name because like he was a soldier in this in this force, right? Yeah. So they are completely hidebound in this way. Additionally, he feels that it is his duty to kind of impose order because what he sees with everybody here acting in their own self-interest is complete chaos that doesn't move society forward. He wants to impose the order of the Qun in order to give people a collective purpose without understanding that like very few people here want that. His arguments for like, oh, I have a mandate to do this is occasionally people show up at the gates wanting to be a part of them.
Yes. And eventually that's how this comes to a head.
Yeah.
With some people who come to the gates and that's unacceptable. But it's, it's a little under, like all positions are underbaked.
Yes.
This would all be solved if everyone just like sat down and fucking chatted.
Yeah, but instead you show up to help people who are ostensibly on your side and you kill dozens of them before they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're with so-and-so. No, I'm not. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, no.
So this gets worse, the Qunari relations. When we go back to report to the Viscount what happened, he has some news. Qunari envoy that visited his office has gone missing. So, the Qunari aren't going to like that.
Yeah. This is going to be the start of more violence, regardless of what happens. Like, and it was a very narrow window when it could have happened. Basically, the Qunari went missing. They never went back through the front door. So it has to have been somebody who was inside the in the guard, basically. And we need to go find and talk to this guard who should have been on duty at the time of the disappearance.
Yep. You bring Evelyn because she's his boss. Hashtag girl boss.
Yeah.
And gets him to admit that a Templar that was working for the High Cleric paid him to look the other way.
Right.
So we go to the Chantry and we meet Sister Patrice again. We've dealt with her before with the Qunari Basaras.
Yeah, the main, the one of those. They've only got a couple of syllables.
Yes, yes. Sarah Basque, Basque Sirach, something like that. The sewn shut mouth guy.
Yeah, the mage.
And yeah, the mage. And Sister Patrice has huge villain energy anyway. And now she's Mother Patrice and she's a huge villain. And she plays dumb about the missing Qunari. And you can just keep saying, like, we both know you're lying. Like, stop this.
Yeah. Like, we were there 3 years ago when you attempted to do another false flag operation.
Yeah, this is your move.
Yeah, it's like it's all you have, and kind of it's pretty sad that you're so predictable.
It's you. There's a Qunari word for you, like priestess that just does false flags. Yeah, very specific. One of the things I kept thinking about when I was playing was if we still did sketches. Like, it's been years since we did that, but how much fun we could have with like hyper specific coon roles or being assigned podcasters by the coon. And just be like, oh geez.
Wait, so
and it just having that worthless danger, like tag to it, like Sarah bosses do.
Oh gosh.
She throws her bodyguard under the bus. She says, it wasn't me, it was Sir Varnell who did it.
Yes, go look at him. Go to him, please do. Yes.
Yeah.
So Sir Varnell, she says, like, oh, he's gotten unreliable as well. If we deal with him, it would benefit us both, which is probably the most shady way you can do this. Like, here's a tip: if you're going to be a villain and if you're going to manipulate someone, stick with one story, like one reason why this happens. Don't say, oh, he's unreliable as a co-conspirator as well, because it still implicates you. If you're trying to get the heat off anyway, keep it simple.
Muddying the water.
Yeah.
So he's having this little rally. He has these little fascist night rallies about being racist against the Qunari. When you head over there, which is in Darktown, which means there are random encounters on the way to the fucking random encounter. But you go there and they have a bound up Qunari who they're torturing. You cannot stop him from doing this. Patrice goes into a fight. Varnell slits the Qunari's throat, and you have to fight him and his waves off. Yeah,
this is an interesting fight insofar as all the fanatics, just like the regular people who are there, have no health essentially.
Yeah,
so you can clear them with one AOE, but it kind of underlines that these are just citizens and not soldiers who are here. Yeah. Feels, racist. Yes, they are racist and fascist, but it's like a little like, oh, geez, yeah, you weren't prepared for the champion. The champion
most racists
to beat.
Die in one hit.
Yeah.
That's the secret. They only have one hit point, most racists.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Richard Spencer in a while.
He's been bleeding out for 10 rounds. You do this, it's a tragedy. It's sad. You get to the Viscount and have him check it out. And you can, there's a confusing dialogue thing here, and I forget the specific phrasing of it, but I ended up letting Mother Patrice off the hook on accident. Like the dialogue, I didn't mean to. Like I said something and it was a dialogue wheel thing where what it pointed to wasn't what I said.
Oh.
So I ended up like pinning on Varnell, like I was trying to make an alliance with Mother Patrice, and like I wasn't bothered enough to reload a save, but I was really bothered.
Yeah.
And dialogue wheels in video games is a bad way to do this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I like the big list. Like this is something that I mentioned a little bit back when we talked about The Witcher 3. I've been thinking about The Witcher 3 or The Witcher in general, not just because I realized that a lot of the stuff that is cool about the Dragon Age setting is pulled from The Witcher. Like Grey Wardens are just Witchers. They go through a ritual that changes them and like makes them in tune with the monsters and stuff like that. It's actually like really flagrant. in a weird way. But, think back to those episodes, back 3 years ago or whatever. And I talked about kind of it possibly being hard to go back to. I was thinking of Mass Effect at the time, but I was, because that was a game that I really enjoyed that is a little bit put in the dust by what Witcher 3 accomplishes with it. But that also applies here. It's really tough to to live in this space that feels so limited compared to something else that kind of eschewed those limitations and ended up singing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of amazing because they're both big developers.
Yes.
It's not like there's a thing I was talking in the Slack, and we were talking about Pillars of Eternity 2, which I have not played yet. I'm interested. It's supposed to be an improvement over Pillars of Eternity 1. But there's an interview where Josh Sawyer is talking about that, and he was talking about how he didn't do fully voiced, dialogue stuff, and how that, helped him kind of have that depth. And then Divinity Original Sin 2 came out and was fully voiced. He's like, I totally ate our fucking lunch.
Yeah.
Like it has the same depth of dialogue that we had, but also it's fully voiced.
Yeah.
Like you can do that. And that's kind of a comparison as well, like Witcher 3 to this or Inquisition and stuff. Like there are ways to do it. It just and it turns out that the cost of that is blood. Not necessarily from Larian Studios. Like
Right.
I haven't heard any stories about Larian being a bad place to work, but
Right.
in terms of CD Projekt Red, the cost is blood.
Yeah.
In BioWare, the cost is not getting under EA's skirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's The Witcher 3 is a better game than this.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about the dialogue system, and that compared to this, which is not really a tree. It's just like a bunch of little gates with an opportunity to maybe investigate, and then choose like the style with which you want to move forward. And occasionally, you're making a choice that is necessarily limited by the 3 to 5 words that they can use to summarize that option.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did the same thing where I told the Viscount not to try to hide the torture.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he'll know.
They know everything. Like they've been watching me without ever coming up and saying hey, we're going to send a guy. They've got eyes and ears everywhere.
Well, and the Aeroshock is a sharp cookie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Lying will only make it worse. So one of our other leads that we had at the beginning here was Avalyn coming and talking to us about that problem Templar Emmerich. Who's been following up. We worked with Emmerich on the case that led, the case of the missing wife that led to a foundry where we just found a bunch of human remains. Missing wife guy.
Yeah.
Where we found a bunch of human remains and the hand of the wife that had the ring on it.
Yes.
He has actually been continuing to follow the case. He's kind of going full conspiracy theorist, and like most conspiracy theorists in media, he is correct. You go to talk to him, and he has this suspect that he has been tracing down. This noble from Orlais named Gascard Dupuis. I love that his name is Gascard, which is just a gift that you give a nephew. Here you go.
Yeah.
Use this at the Speedway. The guard will not help him officially because they think he's a crackpot, but this random noble who has worked with him before, we can help him chase this down.
Yep. When you go to the mansion, it's full of shades. Again, that limiting factor. I just know this is going to have Carta or demons in it because those are the two things.
No.
When we find this guy, he's holding a woman hostage who's asking for help, and he explains they're mistaken. The woman he's holding is the killer's next victim. He's trying to draw her out.
Right.
He wants vengeance for his dead sister, who the killer murdered a few years back. What's interesting about this, and I didn't, weirdly, the wiki for this game, so it is actually kind of hard to research things that I didn't do in this game because it's entirely focused on min-maxing relationship points because BioWare. But this guy's story is full of holes. He talks about how, the killer only kidnaps people who won't be missed.
Right.
And things like that. And it's no, that's not true. The person, the last person was extremely missed. It's full of holes. So I ended up trusting this guy as well. It looks like you did.
Yes.
But I think that you're not meant to. I think this guy's not in the up and up, but I don't know exactly how.
Yeah, like he's definitely shady. Like he's holding this person against her will, like using her blood because the real culprit of this is a blood mage who is using the blood as like a phylactery to track them. Like he's not on the up and up. I didn't think that he was involved with the actual murders. So I kind of ignored those holes and took a chance.
I did too, but I don't know what happened if I didn't. Because I couldn't look it up because it was just about how much Fenris would want to go down on me. That's basically what the wiki's about. Is like whether this will increase your getting your DS points.
Yeah, right. Whether Fenris will remember this.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the other thing we get is that he always sends the victim a bouquet of white lilies.
Mm-hmm.
When we go back to tell Emmerich, he's gone because he's like, oh, like we got your note. You're supposed to go meet him. Like, well, that wasn't me. And when you go there, it's a trap. In an alley. There are tons of shades and demons. And this might have been Gascard that did this. It may have been the actual killer. Regardless of which, one of Emmerich's colleagues is there and is picking up the case.
Yes.
Heading out to seek Dupuis.
Yes.
Dupuis.
So she's chasing him down because he is a loose thread on this. But Dupuis is a little bit of a red herring as we get to kind of this mid-act climax here. All that remains. I had forgotten about how ghastly this is, Gary.
Yeah, this is super ghastly. This is good. This is a good quest because it's has incident.
Yeah.
This is, so there's a thing, one of the things that Dragon Age 2 does that's a weakness is that it gilds the lily so much for both sides of the argument. Because everything in the world has to fall in both those arguments. If all of the times you run into a person they turn into a demon is gilding the lily, this is the lily. This should have been the argument that blood mage is bad. Blood magic is bad.
Yeah.
They really oversell both sides of the argument, but this should have been what they did.
Yeah. I mean, they hit the same note an awful lot in that when they present that evidence. Like this entire game, to a certain extent, it presents mages versus Templars, right? And a lot of the quests are like little pieces, like little anecdotes that the game is hoping will sway you or convince you to change your opinion about a systemic problem. And this is quite literally, oh, well, what would you do if a blood mage had a family member hostage? Yeah. You wouldn't be so kind to them, would you? Yeah.
It's too slick because it's covered with blood. This is literally that.
Yeah.
So you return to your home and Gamlin, your shitty uncle, is arguing with Sandal. cool thing for him to do. And he's asking where your mother is. She didn't show up for their weekly meeting, and he's not there at the house. Boden says that mother is taking a suitor who sent her white lilies. And for me, there had been a lot of time between both these quests.
Oh, okay.
So I remembered it, but I was like, I had the option to be like, oh, that's nice for her. I really wonder what would happen then. But I was like, oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So we had to go track down our mom.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling about this. Something that I really like, and I think heightens this to a good deal, I like the performance, specifically on Hawke and Gamlin, as it becomes very clear that the noose is tightening. Okay, we're going to continue kind of chasing this trail down, but everything is pointing to Leandra being in more and more danger. At least the responses that I ended up taking were really panicked, and that kind of came across. And I don't think that that would have landed if Hawke and Leandra were more poorly drawn than they are.
Yeah, or Hawke or Gamlin.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was also doing, sarcastic Hawke. I was goof boy, but even the goofy options were still panicked and like had the air of making a joke to try to cover up panic.
Yeah.
Which is a nice nuanced little tact there in terms of the performance. So we go to Lowtown and there's an urchin. We bribe him, and he saw your mother helping a bleeding man, and he led her away. So we follow this trail of blood to the foundry. Inside, there's a trap door that we missed before. when we were searching for the other missing woman. So rip to her, but I guess my mom's different. And you get to see the extra mile we'll put in when it's family. And this takes us to these tunnels below, including this like weird little makeshift living space with a painting of your mother. This kind of little shrine. Like this game batting above its weight class. Like this is cool and creepy.
Yeah.
And you do fight a bunch of shades here. But in between fighting shades, you actually do get some like kind of environmental storytelling, or at least checking, learning about a place.
Yeah.
Which is, these places are very anonymous otherwise.
Yeah. And learning about like his other victims too. Like you find like letters and stuff that he's intercepted from these other people. You eventually get to him at the end of this. It is this older mage named Quentin. And we have not seen him before. It's not guest card. And he's rambling about how love is the most powerful force in the universe. And very creepily, we have seen Leandra. She is sitting in a chair in a wedding dress. And the veil is kind of covering up. She's facing away. And the camera, this is actually really well shot, for lack of a better word, to talk about a video game cinematic, really dances around, making the reveal about whether or not she's alive or what Quentin has done to her. Yeah.
Which is strip off her face.
Yeah.
And use it as a mask.
He cut off her head and put it on top of a flesh golem that he had made of these other women to completely reassemble. So like, oh, this person had her hands, this person had her legs, etc. He's gone around in a Silence of the Lambs-esque fashion. I forget the name of that author. And has been harvesting. Thomas Harris. In a Thomas Harris fashion, he's been harvesting in order to reassemble his wife and bring her back through some of the foulest blood magic we've seen.
Yeah, reassembled wife guy. Magic.
Stop having a seance with my wife guy.
Stop seancing my wife. I always thought, how Harry Houdini's wife had that seance that she used to do once a year. Do you know about that? I was thinking that something like a real Moses Slack could have capitalized on that. Just like the Ouija board saying date Mo.
No, so I think it's saying date no. Well, I just figure it's worth a shot.
You have to take him down. This is again, I know I keep harping on mechanics, but this is where my two-handed assassin style interfaced with the lack of tactics in this game, where I had a skill assassinate and then twin fangs, which was I'd turn backwards and stab a guy with two knives at once. Between those two things, I one-shotted every mini boss. So like every named mage would go down in one. That, and then maybe like just a sliver of health left.
Yeah.
So these fights where there'd be a powerful support unit never worked. I would always just go for the support unit, and then it would just become clean up the grunts.
Yes.
They would always go down instantly. So this guy should be like a major nemesis, just like folded like a fucking umbrella.
Yeah.
In this, and then you have to fight the possessions of the other women who are there, who are just demons, which we fought demons before. But mechanically, this is no great shakes. Like the story here is great, but it's not a good climax in terms of fighting.
No, they're just desire demons that are that are named after some of the people who other victims that you had seen before. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like that the two-handed rogue build. I remember having a lot of fun with that, specifically because the opening gambit was always stun and then do the assured critical attack. And then, because my stats were so high, like 2 out of 3 of every other attack would be a critical. Like just enemy health bars smell like butter, but it does take a little bit of the,
incredibly empowering.
The
it flattens the curve so much. Yeah. Like there's not a lot of thought to it. Like, again, I played through this on hard, I ended up bumping up the difficulty, and there just wasn't enough. I wasn't thinking enough. It was very effective.
Yeah.
And it was fun in like a tap, masha, kind of way, but that only lasts so long.
Yeah.
So you get to say goodbye to your mother before you die. I couldn't keep the smart ass thing. Like
No.
this caught me in a role playing moment, which was sweet.
Yes.
You know, because this is some fucked up shit. And this is sad.
Yeah, and you can choose kind of your stance to it. You can blame yourself for not protecting her. You can just say goodbye. You know, you can say you love her. It's a moment for as like flawed as Leandra kind of was as a character. You know, kind of just the temporarily embarrassed noble. It was never, you know, it was never in doubt that she really cared about her kids, right?
Well, what you're saying is she didn't deserve to have her face peeled off and used as a mask for a wife golem?
I'm taking a controversial stance in saying that in this instance, that shouldn't have happened to somebody.
Yeah. In some instances, yes.
Right. I mean, who am I to say, right?
Who am I to say? Like, everybody, you live your own life. If you want to take off somebody's face and use it as a face for a wife golem, you know, if that's the punishment that you get, hey, that's what the state decides.
Yeah, yeah.
But the
I mean, if you don't like it, change the law. But I mean, we've got flesh golems to make for our various wars. Wife wars. Bum, 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 bum.
The flesh wars. When later you go back and talk to your shitty uncle, and he's real pissed at you.
Yeah.
He's real pissed and pissed in general. Like, you know, you didn't really do this, but like I didn't play as a mage, but he's real mad about mages.
Yes. He even says, like, you know, maybe everybody's right. Maybe we should send you to the, you know, maybe you should be tranquil is basically what he says, you know, and I didn't snap back at him because he's obviously distraught, he's
grieving.
Yeah. Like, you know, you're gonna find people to blame. It's literally part of the process. Yeah.
And then depending on your relationships, you can have somebody comfort you. Aveline, I went and talked to Aveline about this, and there was another dialogue wheel fail where she was going to tell me a story about her father. And on the left side of the dialogue wheel, there was like just like a tiny little like yes. Where I could say yes, and on the right were all my normal options, which were all variously phrased things of saying "Don't tell me the story."
Okay,
and I ended up saying "Don't tell me the story," thinking the dialogue would continue, and then I just got like rivalry increase +5. Don't throw your friends away, Hawke. I'm like, oh shit! Like I wasn't trying to do that. God damn it!
Yeah,
I hate the dialogue wheel. I hate Phantom Spaceman.
Gosh, yeah. For me, Isabella came by because I was pursuing the romance with her. Because why not?
You know, nothing like, you know, dipping your wick after a family tragedy.
Yeah,
you feel alive again. You know.
Yeah, wait, this wasn't a fucking. This was not fucking. This was like her coming by and like kind of whiffing it because, you know, her opening up and becoming a little bit more kind of emotionally adept over the course of several years is kind of her arc about this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm here because I know that I need to, and I know this is tough for you, but I don't know what to say. And you can just say, you know, the right way to get out of that is to say like, oh, I appreciate the attempt.
Yeah, the thought counts. The Viscount sends us another urgent letter because we're the Viscount's personal errand boy.
Yeah.
Seamus has converted to the Qun, and he wants us to talk to him. You know, he wants to encourage his son's idealism, but this is horrible. Like, he can't have a son who converts to the Qun.
Right. Specifically because he has political rivals who are already, you know, not only accusing him of being too soft, but also, you know, because of previous incidents like the one we dealt with in chapter 1, people are talking about how the Qunari have undue influence over him, basically kind of talking about him as a puppet for these for this occupying force that they see. So we need to go deal with this, at the very least, find a way, you know, to get his son to convert back. Can we do takesies backsies on a religion, on a conversion?
Well, the protagonist asked me to change my religion. I suppose I should do it.
Yeah.
Later, he told somebody else to change their name, and they did it. It's fucking weird. Role-playing games are so fucking weird.
Whose name did you change?
No, that didn't happen in this. I was just
Oh.
thinking about how that happens in Final Fantasies,
Oh, right.
where somebody would be like, my name is Tifa, but if you can think of a better name for me, that's fine. It's like the absolute most beta thing that I've ever heard in my life. Pretty incredible.
Oh, God.
Yeah, role-playing protagonists are funny. So we go to the Aeroshock, and he's like, no, of course he came to us. Like, people crave order and purpose. They come to my gate every day.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because living in this town seems like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Like,
know?
if you're not in Hightown, literally everything is slum. You've got
There's
all
just different
these
flavors of slum.
Yeah.
There's 3 fucking slums in this town. There's the Gallows, Lowtown, and Darktown.
Yep.
What the hell?
There's the docks. Yeah.
The docks are the 4th slum. Like, the docks are also real scummy.
Yeah. It's really pretty bad. Like the guard, like really all that they do is go out and have like, battles royale with basically like just a bunch of like as more gangs than the warriors are out and about. Yeah.
Every single day, like, somebody wakes up and just sweeps like 74 corpses off the docks from the guards, like gang wars that they had done the previous night.
Just pushing them into the harbor to make an artificial reef, bone reef.
Yep, bone reef. That's how that area became known as the Bone Reef.
Ooh, I'm gonna write
I
that
was
down.
once a gang, and now I'm an ecosystem.
Yeah, it's fucking awful. And I like this. I like the distinction because what we call the Qunari, these large horned humanoids, that's not technically accurate. Like Qunari is the name of anybody who follows this religion. One of the DLCs we're going to talk about next week specifically, deals with an elven follower of the Qun. But I like that distinction. Where it is not just an ethnicity, it's not just a racial thing. These just happen to be people who originated the philosophy, who come from a different part of this planet.
Yes, yeah, a tropical island, as the tooltips tell me.
Yes.
The Aeroshock says that like Seamus has already been called away by the Chantry by another letter. You missed him, and just so you know, if something happens to him, tensions will overflow.
Yes.
Because the Qun, even people who convert are just as precious. When we go there, we see him kneeling, but it turns out he is dead. He's not just praying. And Patrice is there, and she is accelerating this conflict.
Yep.
She committed the murder, and she is prepared to place the blame on you as a Qunari agent.
Right. She, what she wants is for the majority to see how dangerous the Qun are and rise up, even if literally every problem that she would be pointing to was created by her and the Chantry.
Yes. Yeah. Which is a real Dragon Age 2 kind of tact.
Yes.
Of this. So you invite her and her men. Eventually the Grand Cleric arrives to shut everything down. You blame Patrice, and the Grand Cleric takes your side, surprisingly. You can't have people stay in their faith against their will. I'm going to go get you arrested. And as she's walking away, a Qunari archer who's just been hanging out shoots and kills Patrice. The Grand Cleric knows this. Like, she's still in the room, but she ignores it.
Yeah.
The Grand Cleric is like one of the most powerless figures in this whole game.
It's really funny. And
Isn't
it's hard.
Weird?
It's hard to tell if that is, we'll talk about this more when we are dealing more with kind of the upper echelon of Kirkwall's leadership. But this is the most decisive that she ever is when she when she says, the Maker gave us free will for a reason. Does not want reluctant worshipers, etc. They can choose their own path, even if it's wrong. That's the most backbone she ever shows. The rest of the game, it is her pointedly deciding not to act.
Yeah. People begging her to act. Like, hey, please, just try to stop this violence. And she's like, well, as the High Pope, it's not my place to stop violence. And just doesn't do it. Like, she's trash. Like, again, one of the themes of this game is our leaders are worthless and will do nothing for us. They're all corrupt. Every leader is corrupt, and we have no power about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Do I feel, do I disagree with that?
It's a weird tact for a game to have this all encompassingly.
Yeah.
To have every leader be like that. Is very strange. And have them all be be that and be it so hard.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So the Viscount comes to mourn his son, and this also feckless Nini, talks about he cannot be the leader the city needs,
Right.
because he doesn't know how to do this.
Right. He cannot navigate this. Even he has been this pawn. Right.
Yeah.
And it has put his son in danger.
Yeah. Tell me about To Catch a Thief, the quest I did not get because they made a plot important character permanently missable.
It is such a weird decision. Oh my God. Yeah. So To Catch a Thief, this only shows up if you recruit Isabella in chapter 1. She will ask to meet at the Hawke estate. You show up and she's here with Aveline, and both of them have urgent requests of you. I've been rolling around with Isabella and Aveline, so I'd been kind of like getting their the gist of their very combative relationship, which usually just boils down to Aveline slut shaming Isabella and Isabella calling Aveline a prude. Eventually it gets a little bit better as they start, kind of begrudgingly respecting each other, but it's a little bit one note because, the game kind of tacitly takes Aveline's side on that, which is a weird decision. So Aveline's side of this, what she is trying to get you to, work with her on, says, hey, we have these 2 elvish criminals that have defected to the Qun. We have these murderers. The people, they are getting restless. It can't be seen that you can get away with anything, that you are above the law and beyond justice's reach if you go and join up with this group. She wants you to go and resolve this issue with the Arashok. This is,
just to be clear, that part I did.
This is the main story. Yeah.
Yeah, that part happens. The Isabella side thing did not pop up.
Right. Isabella's side thing, in chapter 1, she had been talking about, I'm stuck here. I lost my ship in a storm. I am looking for this relic that I had but then lost. And this Antivan gang leader, Castillon, or not Antivan, Rivaldi, gang leader Castillon is, coming after me. He's going to kill me for losing it. I have found out where it is. This artifact is in the hands of a criminal named Wall-Eyed Sam. And she's real cagey about whether or not she always knew what the relic was. Like, she was pretty, she always danced around it whenever it came up, but in making an appeal to you to, get you to deal with this before you go and, basically do the end of the chapter, she says, this might have something to do with the Qunari. You never know. She knows exactly what it is. Yeah. If you say no, Isabella will leave the party forever, basically because you left her for dead. I decided to go and help her get the relic back first because, the Qunari have been waiting for 4 years. They can wait another, couple days. Yeah. Yeah. So I went to Lowtown and we find that some Qunari are waiting outside of a foundry where Wall-Eyed Sam is held up. They're after the same thing that we're after. And after we fight them, we're like, hey, what the fuck? Why are the Qunari coming after your dude? She admits that she's always known what the relic is. This is like the original book by the Qunari founder. This would be like the copy of the Quran that Muhammad wrote himself.
Yeah, some kind of super Bible.
So it was actually in transit. The Orlesians were getting ready to give it back to the Qunari because it changed hands in the war, and they were just like, obviously, what do we want with this? We can give this back to you. It's just going to cause problems. She intercepted it. This is why the Qunari showed up here in Kirkwall. And why they couldn't leave. They came here looking for Isabella and this relic that she had lost, that she had taken and immediately lost. And they will not leave until they get it back. So I hear all this, and because I'm ride or die with her, I say, all right, well, we'll get the book back to save your life. You go inside, and Wall-Eyed Sam runs away with Isabella in tow, and you end up fighting a group of Qunari and a bunch of Tevinter mages who are also here looking for the book. It's a real hot commodity.
Present.
Yeah.
Tevinter mages.
And then outside, we find that Isabella's not here. She had chased after Wall-Eyed Sam, gotten the book. She left a note saying, "Hey, I left with this in order to save my life. I don't want to drag you further into this mess. So we're fucked." She left with the only thing that would stop the Qunari from being a real problem for us and for all of Kirkwall in general. And this will only be redeemed if you have a high enough relationship modifier with her, and if you sided with her every time.
I still will go back to that main quest where we go in with the elven criminals, which happens for all after a while. But let's take a little bit of a side jaunt to talk about some companion quests.
Yeah, companion quests, side quests, secondary quests. They're all just kind of like mixed together in a melange.
It's all melange. So Sebastian, I ended up getting this installed, the $7.50 companion. We talked to him. He learns that the Flint company that murdered his family was hired by a Kirkwall family, the Harrimans, who were once thought to be an ally of his. Also expatriates from Starkholm or wherever he's
Starkhaven. Another one of these city states like Kirkwall in the Free Marches. The Free Marches are
this one's Ireland.
Ferelden is Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this one Scotland? Based on Sebastian's accent, it's got to be one of them.
Yeah, it's I don't know specifically which one it is. I found like a blog post by somebody who works with BioWare, kind of talking about which cultures map to which. So like Ferelden is specifically like oh, you know what? It might Starkhaven might be Ireland because Ferelden is modeled after England and Scotland. So yeah. But
I
like
was pretty sure it was England.
The Free Marches are like supposed to be like the Alpine city states. So like, you know, Switzerland, you know, Alsace-Lorraine, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we go with Sebastian to the Harriman estate, and things are weird. People have all gone crazy. There's a woman who's demanding more wine from a cask. There's a servant, and there's a guy who's about to pour molten gold on a servant's head.
Never seen that before.
As like an honorific. And then it's like, oh, maybe I should do it. Maybe it's for me. And guess who it is? Can you guess what the cause of this is? If you said it was Fade Demons, you're right 100% of the time in this fucking game.
Yeah.
Because of course it is.
You always throw a rock because this game always throws scissors.
Yeah, always throw scissors. So the basement is full of demons.
Yes. Yeah. The matriarch of this family, Lady Harriman, when you go down there, she has been working for and appealing to power from a desire demon named Allure.
Yes. Yeah. The demon turns to you and starts making offers. Like, oh, you know, Sebastian, you've always been jealous of your brother's claim to power, etc. You know, and you can entertain this, but if you don't know not to make deals with demons, by this point in Dragon Age, I don't know what's wrong with you. So you get into
maybe
a battle.
It'll be different for me.
Yeah, this time, yeah. Rip to you, but I'm different. After you beat them, the daughter shows up and apologizes.
Yes.
Or not the daughter, rather Miss Lady Harriman. She's like, oh, you know, or no, it's the daughter. Like,
yeah,
my mom did that.
Flora is her oldest daughter. She was the one I think who was making demands of the wine cask, the one you didn't kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She's like, oh, you know, the demon did it. I'd like to make things right. We talked to Sebastian, and Sebastian back at the Chantry, he's mad because the demon was right. Like, I am kind of a dick.
Yeah. Like, you know, I just, I have, you know, I'm only half committed, basically. I'm, you know, I should be the one who, you know, I believed that I should be the one who ruled Starkhaven, but also I, you know, found myself in the Chantry pretty much because my family forced me there. She dangled the power and I almost took it.
Yeah. And I think this is where you can gain him as a permanent companion.
Yeah.
Here, because he can't be your companion in Act 1. You can just do a little quest for him. You can recruit him here, and I think this is where you ask whether he should go back to Starkhaven, or is that next act?
Yeah, I believe that's here.
Yeah, he's like, you know, should I stay in the Chantry like I want to, or should I go back and rule as a prince?
Yeah,
and like, I just met you, dude. I don't fucking care. I just, you know, you sound like you want to stay in the Chantry, so do that. And
yeah,
he's like, thanks. and I got friendship points with him, and then he vowed to kill me at the end of the game. Because I didn't want to kill my healer before the last 2 bosses. So, because that's the kind of game we're dealing with here. If you don't want to sacrifice for the final 2 bosses, a whole country dies. So,
yeah. That discussion that you can do is part of like a quest line that pops up in each of the chapters for each of your companions.
The questioning beliefs.
Yeah, questioning beliefs. The game does something very strange, which is like individual conversations with your companions will have just a whole quest associated with them, where the quest is go talk to them and see this scene and like make a choice with them that will affect your relationship score. So like that discussion about, kind of guiding his future or providing a gut check, that is one of many discussions that you're going to have with most of the other people, as long as your friendship or rivalry is higher than 50 with them.
Yeah. I think that I just like talked to him right after this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
He was like right there. So Varric's companion quest here is called Family Matter. Kind of a dangling thread from the Deep Roads expedition back at the end of chapter 1. Remember that Varric's brother, Bartrand, one of the partners in the expedition, once he got a hold of this idol down on one of the taigs down in this vault in the Deep Roads, he tried to commit murder. He locked us in, and so he's been missing. Varric has sworn vengeance, and he has heard he's gotten tell that Bartrand is back in the city in this mansion in Hightown, and we agree like, hey, we should go and discuss, quote unquote, his betrayal. Varric wants to shoot his brother with a crossbow. Yeah.
Yep. Very much so. So you go, because I'm ride or die with Varric. And you get there, and he shows up on his own, and basically does Scarface. Like shows up, and this is pretty cool. I'm glad they don't do this trick more than once, or they only do it a couple times in the game. Yeah. But remembering that this is a story that's being narrated by Varric, he makes himself a real badass. Like you're shooting a bunch of guards, everyone's getting one shot. All your shots become explosive, and they're just endless guards that pop out. As you do this, and eventually Bartrand shows up, and he's begging for his life, and then Cassandra's like, "Well, that didn't happen."
Yeah,
he's like, "Okay."
Well, I love this because it's Bartrand and Bartrand's with Bartrand's voiceover, saying like, "Oh no, you're right.
You were always the best brother.
Yeah, you were always the best brother, but of course, Mother always loved you more." Like just completely. Completely obvious. And I love Varric's balls to play this up. Also because it doesn't fucking matter. This has nothing to do with the champion, really.
So the way thing really happened is just a Dragon Age 2 dungeon.
Yeah, it's the mansion biome. You got spirits and stuff. Specifically, the guards here, they're all crazed. And we find evidence that they have been force-fed lyrium.
Yes. Yeah. Including Bartrand's valet, Hugin, who shows up and says what happens here. Bartrand was driven crazy. He started being able to say he heard the song of the lyrium even after he sold it.
Yeah.
So he returned to Kirkwall with his men in order to reacquire the idol, which he sold, which is foreshadowing for the end game.
Yes.
And he just says like, hey, whatever we find in Bartrand's study, give it a merciful death.
Yeah.
And it's Bartrand and his men. And Bartrand has gone full, the One Ring, like full Gollum.
Yeah. And that's just something that dwarves do in this. They are particularly susceptible to treasures made out of lyrium. And it's kind of annoying because it's basically the same as blood magic.
So yeah, everyone is susceptible to this stuff too, though, because we're going to run into Templars who are lyrium poisoned, and one big Templar who's super lyrium poisoned.
Right.
It is basically the same as blood magic. Like everything is a corrupting force everywhere.
Yeah.
So woof. If you have Anders with you, when you're talking to him, he can clear Bartrand's head for a moment, and he expresses horror and revulsion. He asks for help. and you can decide to kill him. This is really interesting. If you cleared his head, then the Varric plus points response is not to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't, if he was just a raving maniac, Varric doesn't think there's hope.
Yeah.
And if you decide to spare him, you'll get rivalry points with him.
Yeah. Just, if you decide to spare him without hearing that Bartran was repentant, it appears that you are not merciful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I'm happy that they flipped that based on the available information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we send him to some healers, and then we're going to try to track down the idol so we can warn its new owners.
If only.
If only. No warning will happen. We actually just literally forget about this.
Yep.
We don't try to track down shit.
There's a minor side quest in chapter 3 that deals with like a fragment of the lyrium idol. But
not
it
the
is
whole thing.
No,
Are you talking about the one where you go back to the house and do the same thing we just did?
Yeah, and it's haunted.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, man. Like, no, I know, but like tracking down the idol so it doesn't drive people crazy. It's something you explicitly say you'll do and then just don't do.
Yep. It's a big whoopsie doodle on our part.
If only the hero of Ferelden had done that, then what could have been avoided?
Yeah.
Or hero of Kirkwall, champion of Kirkwall.
Yeah.
Mirror Image is Meryl's side quest, which I kept going back and doing this, but I never had Meryl in my party.
Oh.
I did not have a place for her really, so I kept doing these things, but I always felt very disconnected from it.
Yeah. I didn't have a place for Meryl in my party either, so it was a little bit like she was just a regular NPC that I was meeting, who was like, I was a well-wisher in that I did not wish her any particular harm, even though she is playing with some of the most dangerous stuff imaginable and seems really blasé about it.
Her story arc is really fucking dumb. I spent some time on the Dragon Age 2 TV tropes page. Just kind of trying to shore up stuff that I missed. And the debates, like BioWare, man, like the debates that people are having about the relative merits of these characters and whether they're good people or not is fucking wild. Like these huge flame wars.
That's really
go back
funny.
And forth about like, well, she doesn't understand your culture. She was raised in an alienage. She doesn't know, like people just getting very mad about her dallying with blood magic and that being acceptable.
And like, it's really funny because like, I don't know, it seems pretty clear what her whole thing is, which is she is extremely naive. She is putting her curiosity above everybody else's like legit concerns and never suffers the consequence for it. She is an absolutely evil person based on her actions, but it is disguised by the fact that she is charming, right?
Like adorable.
Yeah. And like it's not something she's doing intentionally. It's just nobody looks at her and sees malice in what she is doing. Right. So like, I like her as a character. I think that is like a cool trick, but I do not see how there is any argument that she is not like an absolute force for evil, know, if you enable her. Right.
Yeah. And the way her quest ended for me, because I was pretty disinvested, was kind of incredible. Just like, well, okay, I'll kill the whole clan.
Yeah.
And
same.
nothing comes of it. Sure.
Yep. Yeah.
Sure. Fine. So she calls you to her house and she wants to show off something that she found from the forest from the first game, which is this magic mirror called the Alluvian.
Yeah. So, in the old Elvish Empire, it spanned so much of the world that they, in order to communicate and even to travel, they had these alluvions, these magic mirrors. And this was a major factor in the Dalish kind of spoke of the first game. Like, that is the thing that let the demons through, that corrupted their forest, right? She has this, and she has been trying to rehabilitate it.
Yes. This is why she left the clan. The clan elder thought digging this up and restoring it was horrible, but Meryl's like, no, I can do it.
Yeah.
And also Elvish history is important. Again, because everyone is a single issue voter in this game.
Right.
The mirror won't function. So Meryl thinks that we need this tool from her clan to finish it.
Right.
And we go speak to the elder. And the elder doesn't want to do this, obviously. Nope. Like, she's trying to get Meryl to see the light. But Meryl's like, no, I evoke an elvish right. Every elf has the right to claim their history if they can do a favor.
Yep.
which is very funny.
And their history could be the one tool that lets them put together an apocalypse machine.
Yeah. Who gives a shit? As long as you go run this errand for me.
I'm more concerned about the Elvish past than the Elvish present or future. So
Yeah. Yeah. So let me grab you a soda and then I can do whatever crosses I want.
Yeah. I'll pick you up from the airport as long as you let me detonate this nuke.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. So, Maritheri, the keeper, her hands are tied. So, she says, all right,
They're extremely not.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that everyone's a fucking idiot in this game.
Yeah. She's saying, all right, well, we've been losing some hunting parties up in the up in the caverns at the top of Sundermount here, to this monster called a Vartaral. You can go up there and deal with that. We're squaresies, and you can take away the special knife.
So was she thinking that the Vartaral would kill us? And that's why she gave us something so easy, or what?
Maybe. I've got no idea. Like, that would be if they had her express surprise at, like, okay, you realize you're going to die, right? Express surprise that we like went after it, but I don't know what the fuck a Volterol is, and nobody in universe like, you know, pointed out and said like, oh yeah, this is actually like a really big deal.
It's like a Death Claw or something.
Yeah.
Like I think a codex entry pops up, but not until after you kill it.
Right.
So you go in the cave. It's full of undead. There's no real reason for there to be undead here. We're fighting a fucking Volterol, but like, why not? And we run into this elf named Pole, who's initially glad to see us, but when he sees that Meryl's with us, he runs in fear.
Right.
Because they've been spreading, the Keeper's been spreading stories about Meryl.
Yeah. I.e. telling the truth about what she wanted to do. And and Pole is running away saying, do you know what she is? Do you know what she's going to do?
Yes. And it's like, yes, I don't care. I just go get experience from her once an act. I'm just here in case somebody leaves me in the end game.
Yeah.
Like, and I need to take her with me if I need a fourth body.
Uh-huh.
And we fight the Vertrol, which is a proper boss.
Yeah.
They're rare in this game. It's this gigantic, like, four-legged spider thing. It summons spiders.
Yeah.
It does the boss Dragon Age 2 boss move, which is every third of its hit points pop up and go into the air and then summon adds.
Yeah. Tiresome.
Yes.
This was a long fight. This is one of the first fights where I like ran up against my mana and stamina cap.
Yeah. When you pop one of those potions, you know it's a big deal.
Yes.
It almost never happens.
Yeah. But yeah, has a lot of HP. The spiders have the ability to like web you and slow you down. This was only barely countered by the fact that I had Anders around casting haste pretty much at every opportunity whenever it was available. But yeah, Pole, he ran straight into the jaws of this Vartarol instead of running out of the cave. Like, he would rather have died at this thing's hands. And Meryl is, horrified at this. Why would he make such a dumb decision? What has Maritheri been saying about me? And you can go back down and, to get the knife. And, Maritheri says, Pole was terrified that you're going to bring corruption into the clan because of this mirror. Everybody is terrified of you. You're an existential threat because of what you're pursuing. Like, just because you're away from us doesn't mean your actions don't have consequences here.
Yes. And you have the choice to give her the knife or not. I gave her the knife, but if you don't, nothing happens.
No.
Just like, it is definitely, she's, going to summon demons and shit, but like, there's nothing that's going to stop her because once you're on this train in this game, you're on this train.
Right. I gave the tool to Meryl because I didn't want to have the next, but basically I did not want to sever the rest of this quest line. I guess if you don't give the knife to her, the next one still opens up. So
yeah, nothing changes.
Yeah.
A real high point in this.
Love this.
Not flavor wise, not mechanically. Like, mechanically, this is really dumb. I think this would have been a really good opportunity to have a combatless quest.
Agreed.
I don't know why this game is so scared of doing that. Like, we talk a lot about the insecure dungeon master problem on the show. This game definitely has that. But this is very sweet. The Long Road, Aveline's companion quest. She wants you to pass a note essentially to Donick the guard that we saved from ambush in the first act.
Right.
But she's like, don't look in it, and I won't tell you what's inside it.
Yeah, like just, no questions asked. I need you to do me this favor as a friend. Of course you can ask questions, and she gets cross with you about it.
Yeah.
God, this is so charming.
It's really good. Like, this is really, really sweet.
So you go and you make the delivery, and Donnick's like, okay, I know you're Avelin's friend. Why are you handing me something? He opens it up. And inside this package is, it's a copper relief. It's like a little carving. God, I love how literal this is. It's a carving of marigolds. And I love the way that he says this. So yeah, it's marigolds. And I can tell because it's labeled marigolds.
Yeah. Yep.
As though he wouldn't understand what kind of flower it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, when you go back and talk to Aveline, she's like, oh, I thought that was really clear. Like, metal is strong, copper ages well, flowers are soft, it's, so she's like, okay, well that didn't work. Post next week's patrol and then check and see their reaction.
Mm-hmm. Why do I need to do your job? You can ask her, and just like, I can't be around. I need to see what they honestly think about what I've done with who goes where on their job. And you go and put it up, and everybody's pissed off because Donnick has been assigned to watch Hightown Square, which is just a make work job. Like, it's literally just a place where you put somebody who's useless because nothing will happen. Donnick is furious at this because he's been chasing down, some coterie stuff happening on the docks, and everybody's looking at him like, oh, so, who's like, what did you do? Like, who have you been sucking up to get the cushy gig? Like, it sucks.
Yeah. And he hasn't been doing anything. Aveline did this because, to keep him safe, this gesture of kindness, like give him a good job here. You have in the notes here, Isabella will force it out of Aveline.
Yes.
Make her admit that she's sweet. You can do that yourself as well. Here. And she says, I'm like, okay. Well, and I kept saying, like, just tell him, and she won't do it. She's like, well, invite Donnick to the Hanged Man. I don't want him to know he's meeting the captain. Say a lot of people are showing up.
Yeah, it's like a work.
So you just kind of show up and go like, we're having a party, Donnick.
Yeah.
Come hang out with my weird companions.
Yep.
Come hang out with a blood mage, an abomination, a slave.
Yeah.
Come hang out with my weirdos. And you go, and we just kind of sit and awkwardly have drinks where nobody else shows up.
Or you see Aveline walking in the distance and then turning away.
Walking away. It's very cute.
Yeah. And Donnick thinks that you're sweet on him, and he's like, no, this whatever. Like, even if he was interested, I was playing a female character, but even if he was interested, like, oh, I need somebody who's a little bit more direct. Like, he even says, like, yeah, you played this wrong.
Yeah. So when you talk to Aveline about this, she's really flustered, and she's like, I'm only comfortable if I'm on patrol. And you can be like, well, it's time to go on patrol.
Yeah.
So they're going to go on, go to the Wounded Coast, and you need to do all the fighting so they can just talk.
Yeah. Spoiler, this doesn't work either. They just walk. Down this suspiciously quiet path, having awkward conversation. I love this line that Aveline says, oh, it's a real nice night for an evening.
A nice night for an evening is really good. There's also a part where she talks about asking what his favorite part about making swords is. Like of the process.
Yep. She's just just walking through like, and then
just talking about blades. Yeah. It's really cute.
Yeah.
Eventually you show up there and you can force the issue here, and he leaves, and Aveline is incredibly mad, like, you fuck this up. Help me come with a plan to stop the damage.
Yeah.
When you do, though, Donnick shows up and he's like, I need to talk to the captain. And then we overhear them giggling and fucking in the office.
Yep. Yeah. Well, like, once he actually learned, okay, like, yeah, no, I like you too. The feeling's mutual. You don't need to do all this stuff. Like, just, you can be you. It's fine. And then Aveline, thanks you. Like, then some time passes and she comes out, and it's incredibly sweet because, you had helped her move on. Remember, this is the woman who lost her husband at the beginning of the game, and she has spent several years mourning and really just burying herself in her job to the point where she kind of forgot herself. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredibly sweet and well presented. It's not super deep. It's not, it fits the scale of the game. Like, really well. Like, it's not about saving the world.
Yeah.
and it's not about these big philosophies. It's just helping her learn how to date again.
No.
It's very cute.
Love it.
So Descent is our Anders quest. We go meet Anders in the clinic, and he explains that the Chantry is working on a plan to make all mages in the city tranquil within 3 years, even those who pass their harrowing. Then I think this lead to the tranquil solution.
Yeah,
the second half of this quest.
Yeah,
That's in poor taste.
It really, yeah, and then it's capitalized and everything. Like,
Yeah,
it's a little much. I think.
In the Slack, we were talking, obviously the Mage versus Templar thing keeps popping up and
right.
And talking about this and it's kind of real world parallels and stuff. And there's an argument to be made that there are not. These are all just made up things.
Yeah.
But then the game keeps doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the game, yes, like in real life, there aren't mages and abominations and stuff. The game explicitly wants us to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
it is drawing the parallel for you, and also like in a super messy way. So the just in case it needs to be spelled out, the tranquil solution, an allusion to the final solution, Hitler's plan to establish the Reich, and eliminate every Jewish person through the Holocaust.
Yes.
Yeah. We already have kind of a stand-in for homelandless, ethnically persecuted group in this, which is the elves, to also draw that, to draw that explicit comparison to, onto mages as well, like really muddles things in a way that makes it just even more of a disservice than it already is.
Well, and you can see what they're going for because they need to make something big enough to balance the scales with, assembled wife mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they need to show like, okay, but also like, blood mages are bad because of what they did to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys are going to do literally a Holocaust kind of thing. And it's just so much.
Mm-hmm. They could have called it literally anything else and it still would have been horrifying because, the tranquil process is an analog for lobotomies, which is fucking terrible. Like it could have been called something else. The trankening.
Yeah. So much like Anders, instead of this being the work of all Templars, it's the work of one Templar.
Yes.
Named Sir Elric. And we learned that Anders has been working on this resistance group trying to slow this. Anders has a very developed life outside of your adventures.
He does, in a way that a lot of the in a way that every other companion doesn't, with the exception of Avalyn.
Yeah, they have jobs.
Yes.
Everyone else doesn't. And he's the most important character of the game.
Yep.
Like sets off the thing, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you go and you fight in some tunnels. They go to the gallows. You go to the gallows. We see Sir Alaric menacing a young mage who's trying to escape. And she's like, I'm just innocent. I haven't done anything. He's like, none of you are innocent. You'll all be made tranquil.
Yeah. I love the dialogue here because they very clearly forgot to do like a proofread pass to make sure they didn't use the same construction. Because at one point he says, what happens to mages who lie to me. And then later he says, what happens to mages who try to escape.
It's like, I have to know a lot of things about mages.
Yeah, so I know what happens in all of these instances. All right. Fucking chill, dude.
I read the fucking source book, dude. So we can't really talk to him because Justice pops out and starts the fight.
Right.
Out of Anders. Mm-hmm. And we kill them. This is meant to, Justice turns to the mage girl afterwards and says that the Templars have a hold on her. Mm-hmm. And we're like, whoa, buddy.
No. Think about how absurd this would be. Yeah. You cannot kill the person that we came here to save. What is the point of this anyway? If literally anybody who has ever acquiesced to a Templar demand for short-term survival is an enemy, then who isn't? Like this sucks. You need to stand down.
Yes. You can talk him down if you have good enough friendship as well.
Yeah.
This I think otherwise you have to fight him, and then he passes out. This happens again later in the DLCs.
Yes.
So afterwards he flees. You go to the clinic and he's like, yeah, man, thanks for sticking by me. with this justice thing, and you're like, yeah, that was fucked up. Stop doing it.
Yeah. You are not doing mages any favors by being this out of control, by being a literal abomination. If you want to be useful, then maybe get a handle on it, please.
Yep. And he does not.
Nope.
Moving on to Inside Job.
Yeah. This is part of the mine quest. Our buddy Hubert, the Elysian mine owner, says like, hey, some people are stealing some goods from us. We believe that it is someone named Sabine, who claims to be from Lothering, is talking a big game about having grown up with you.
Yeah. So we go to where he's being interrogated here, and they're just beating the crap out of him. You get him alone, like I was playing as a good guy.
Yeah.
Here, I didn't want him to be tortured and killed. He talks about how, he used to have everything, but now he's miserable and poor in Kirkwall. Like, he has to basically get ahead. Like, this is you.
Right.
Last act.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want his family. He's like, I don't care what happens to me, but I need my family to be left alone. If I admit what happens to them, they're going to die. And I'm like, no, we'll take care of your family. You're going to be okay.
Yeah. Like my stance on this was you need to be held accountable because you got people killed, right? Think about their families or whatever. But I said, we'll make sure that your family is taken care of if you just confess.
Yeah. He tells where the next ambush site is. You can send this guy to jail or have him murdered or let go. And when you arrive at the ambush site, it's too late to stop the murder, but the consultant recognizes one of the men.
Right.
Who killed as part of the coterie, this guy named Brecker, taking jobs against Hubert despite being up on his payments. So it's organized crime shit and a big fight.
Yeah. This consultant at least says, hey, go ahead and meet us in the Undercity, to take on Brecker. But when you get there, she's dead. This other coterie person thinks that you committed the murder. And I say, oh, Brecker obviously did this. And the coterie says, we'll take care of our own. And that's the end of that.
Yeah. The coterie crime stuff in this never really blooms.
Right. We never there's no personality really associated with the coterie like there is with pretty much any other faction or ideology, like we never meet the coterie leader.
Fool's Gold is an excuse to reuse one of the biomes. They don't reuse that often. A dwarf named Yevon is in Hightown. When you approach, he yells for you. His 3 sons followed in your footsteps, inspired by your adventures to go to the deep roads and haven't come back.
Yeah, they hold you responsible for being a folk hero.
Yeah, I fucking guess.
Yeah.
When you go in there, we find the younger 2 brothers, and we find out from them that the older brother became obsessed with finding the sword called the Heart Drinker, and he locked his brothers in there.
Heart Drinker, Love Stinker. Yeah.
And you get out. You can expose the brother at this point. Yeah, if you want to, and tell him that because the older brother will escape if you save him.
Okay.
And then he'll show up there in front of the father, and he wants you to keep it a secret. He offers you money, and I said no, and I exposed him, and then he got disowned in front of me. And he's like, "Thanks a lot. You'll not hear the end of this." And then I did hear the end of it.
That's really weird because I didn't find him alive. I found his body and broke the news to the dad, and it was literally just quest end, no lesson.
No, yeah, I managed to get him responsible.
Okay,
get him disowned.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Nothing really came of it though. It's like I don't think you missed anything.
Right. It just weird. Just a little family that you do not ever see or get involved with again. Yeah. But a family that you do see again. Fainreal's crew. For this quest, Night Terrors. Fainreal was a mage who you helped escape. This was the half elf who you sent to live among the Dalish. Was one of the possible ways that could be resolved. Fainreal's mother writes you a letter saying, hey, come see me in the alienage. This is terrible. Fainreal is in a coma. This is a thing that happens to mages who are susceptible to demons. when they fall when they fall to sleep like this, they're exposed to the Fade, and they can be taken by these demons in their dreams. What she needs us to do is go into the Fade through this ritual conducted by the Elvish Keeper, by Maratheri, and rescue him from whatever demons are keeping him in this trance.
Yes. So we talk to the keeper, and she says, like, okay, we'll do it. And then pulls you aside and goes, actually, he's something
we need you to
called a
ice this fool.
Yeah, ice this fool. He's a Samanyari, which is like a dreamer. If he became an abomination, he'd be unstoppable. You have to kill him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. Okay. It's like, make him, if you kill him in the Fade, he'll become tranquil. If you die in the Fade, you become tranquil in real life.
Sure. I love the keeper's whole posture in this. Like, don't worry, we'll find your son. Turns to you. All right, put on your corpse handling gloves.
It's exactly that. Yeah. You go in the Fade. Which companion did you take matter? Because they'll be taken over, possibly. Yeah. I ended up taking Aveline, what's his name? Fenris and Anders. And when you come in, Anders gets taken over by Justice because he's in the Fade, but he's not in a rage. He's reasonable.
Yeah. He's here. He's here on his time scale, so he's not just showing up whenever there is a especially flagrant abuse for him to address with magical violence.
Yes.
Yeah. I brought Anders. I saw that as well. I had Aveline, and I also had Isabella, which plays into one of these scenes here. The first demon that I find is the sloth demon named Torpor, who attempts to make a deal, but I'm like, I'm going to stop you right here. We're not going to do this. Ended up fighting him. I do not know who is making a deal with him. Go ahead.
If you make a deal with him, this is actually like a third way option.
Ooh, okay.
For this. Which I also didn't do, but I did it my first time, so I have vague memories of this. But I think it's basically like he's gonna hermit crab into Fenriel, but since he is a sloth demon, all he wants to do is like be lazy and not take over the world. So it doesn't make him an abomination; it makes him like chill. Like I think this is like the one deal with the demon that works out.
This is the indica demon, not the sativa demon.
It's very good.
I'm just gonna couch lock Fenriel.
Very good. I'm gonna put Fenriel in a K-hole for eternity. That's extremely good. That's very funny. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I killed him. So Fenriel will have no chill.
Well, Anders won't allow it either.
Okay. Yeah.
Anders will fight you. Then you have to take him out.
Yeah.
If you decide to let him do that. Yeah. Apparently that's okay. Again, I didn't do it this time. So
yeah. So I go through a door marked Fenriel's Desire. So you can do either of these in any order. And you step through, and I turned into his mother. And you step in on this scene of Desire Demon pretending to be his father. His father's a human from Tevinter who abandoned him in real life, never thought of you. Here, he's like loving and attentive and encouraging his mage studies. Like this Desire Demon is tempting him with the relationship that he never had. And also, a relationship that would have helped him develop this power. That would make him more susceptible to the demons, right? You have a couple of different like opportunities to basically just say, snap out of it. Hey, it's a demon. You can also try and make like a reasoned response and say like, oh, he never thought of you. Like he just abandoned you and left. Like just this isn't true. There's really no reasoning with him. You just need to say like, hey, wake the fuck up because, it's a titty demon. She's right there.
But pointing out the tits. So that's the suboptimal way to do this, apparently.
Okay.
I also never did this correctly. I just read about it. You're supposed to play along with the vision and then poke holes in it so he will come to the conclusion himself. That's a demon.
Huh.
And that results in him like mastering his own mind, and you get like a special item.
Okay.
I didn't do that. I was just like, it's a titty demon.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for all of these things. So I did I did this wrong. When this happened, one of my, I think it was Fenris, defected. So I had to fight him, and I had a 3-person party. And then later when I went to Fenriel's Pride, which we find a demon disguised as the Elder, welcoming him to the tribe, You can be like, no, that's a titty demon. Or, well, not really titty. That's a tumor demon.
Yeah.
That appealed to Aveline's pride and tempted her away from me. So I ended up with just 2 party members at the end, where he begged me to kill him. And I was like, okay, sure.
You killed him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
tranquiled this kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
I tranked him. Okay. No,
I
didn't do that. So I think maybe my relationship with Aveline was high enough that she was not tempted when I went to the Pride, or maybe because I resolved the Pride, but possibly. I have no idea why that didn't go for me. Because I had Isabella with me, the Desire Demon was able to tempt her away with the promise of a ship. And I said, like, no, you don't make a deal with a demon. And she's like, well, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
And
this sounds different.
I'm different. She'll come back and apologize later for betraying you. And you can say it's fine. It's a demon. That's what they do. For me with Fainreal, he begged me, please make me tranquil. I can't face this anymore. Just imagine if any time you fell asleep, you would be, pray for them. Right.
Yeah.
I gave him the, buckle up for real life speech and say, you can control this power. There's still an option for you. Moving to the Dalish didn't help you, but if you go to Tevinter and seek training, they've dealt with this. They know what you are. You can get through and still have a life. And so you wake up, Marathari is here, says, hey, thank you for performing this miracle, but you have to break the news that, your son is going to be moving even further away for Mage College.
Yeah, with the Tevinters, the evil mages.
Yeah, the slave mages.
Slave mages, slavers. I just tranked him. He shows up in the gallows later, and he's like, "What a lovely day." But we all know how much I want to be tranquil. So, it was a mercy. And then everyone would apologize to me. I went to them, and I was like, "No, it's cool."
Yeah.
The other companion quest here is a bitter pill, which is just escalating Fenris's deal.
I figured that's what it was, because I did not have any relationship with Fenris really. So
it's you finding the second in command to the slave that owned him, a slaver who owned him. Okay, and going into her cave and hunting her down and killing her. It's just Dragon Age 2 ass shit, But the takeaway here is at the end, the slave has like super Stockholm syndrome. There's a slave in the cave that you can recruit. And there's this great little like moment, like that's really the only noteworthy thing about this, where you're like, come work for me. And she goes, great. And then Fenris is like, are you fucking serious? And you're like, I'm going to pay her. Yeah. And he goes, okay. And it's like, rivalry, friendship, he just thought you were enslaving, the elf girl. Yeah. But this eventually becomes his like final thing with his sister in Act 3, which is all right. I never really grew to get warm on Fenris here. I did max out his rivalry because I wanted to see what would happen with that. In the next quest, it was very funny because I read online, just gaming it, like he leaves you if your rivalry or friendship isn't maxed out at the end if you decide to side with the mages. Right. So I was like, I want his rivalry to be maxed out. So in the next act, and I'll talk about this next episode too, I just thought it was funny. The slaver comes back and is like, yes, give me you. And you can just be like, take him. And
holy shit.
It's pretty amazing.
It's fucking appalling. Wow.
It's grim, and you get like 25 rivalry points, and you can be like, on second thought, I'll fight you. And I just did it to game him because one of the dumb things about this game is that, like I said, at the end, I had to decide between Anders facing capital punishment, but if he did, I lost my healer for the last 2 bosses of the game. I had nobody else spec'd for that, and Meryl, the other mage I had, can't do it. Right. So I was like, fuck that. Like it was this thing where I lose my DPS warrior, or do I max out his rivalry so I can keep him at the end? So I had to threaten to sell him into slavery. And the only person who doesn't like it is Varric. Everybody else is basically okay with it because he's such a dick. And Anders loves it. Okay. Anders is like, all right. Finally, something it's very funny. It's dumb. He's also a very one note guy.
Yeah.
But just very efficacious, like very like effective in a gameplay sense. And as my desires in this game became more and more in line with trying to get encounters over faster.
Yeah, because you want to get to the conversations and the choices and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It became more important to me to have a really well balanced and, effective party.
Yeah.
I realized I could have just put it on easy, and probably got the same.
But you're still tapping through the stuff. Like the combat's still happening.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. There's some other like secondary quests that I didn't pick up, like cave crawling, cavern of the dead, raiders on the cliffs. Like a lot of that just sounded like, okay, you get a letter from somebody and go and kill some people in a place and come back and they say good job.
I did any of the things that popped up as a quest.
Yeah.
That I can have, but I don't remember the specifics of these.
These never showed up for me. I pulled these off by like getting a big list of the quests from the wiki and then like going and crossing off the ones that I did in order to see what was left.
My guess is these ones pop up from like the Chantry board because they have that kind of like make radiant quest
feel
to them. Yeah. Regardless of which, like no matter how many of those you do, like the herbalist tasks, that's going to be exciting. We get to the final quest of the act, which is called Demands of the Coon.
So this is what Avalyn was talking about, saying, "Hey, we have these two elvish murderers who have basically sought asylum by converting to the Qunari faith. We need to go and resolve this. It is in the the opinion of the city and the Viscount that this cannot be allowed to stand because literally anybody who ever commits a crime would just run to the Arishok's hands in order to not be jailed." Is what they're saying. So you go to the compounds. Avalyn wants to, talk with them about the murder. For me, the Arishok asked me to admit whether or not you know where the book is, because I had done this quest, and I say, yes, I know where it is. I know who has it. I know that's what you're looking for. And he was pleased that I told the truth. Did he put that question to you? Did he ask about the book if you didn't do anything with Isabella?
No. The book is barely present. It was mostly just talking about the murderers.
Gotcha.
Avalyn says there needs to be justice. He brings out the murderers and their elves, who got revenge against the guard, who sexually assaulted their sister.
Yes.
They tried to report the incident, but nothing happened. And you can call Avalyn out for this. And it's very uncharacteristic of Avalyn. Like, again, the way that this is a very on-rails story. She's like, well, that may be true. I can do an investigation. And it's like, well, yeah, but they do have a point.
Yeah.
And again, the way I was trying to game it, I didn't want to get the negative Avalyn points because I wanted to have high Avalyn score. So I was like, chose something diplomatic instead of like, actually, no, your guard's fucked up, which is actually what I think.
Yeah.
If people are taking justice in their own hands at this point, that is because justice is not being done. But I just needed to game it.
Yeah.
There's some real ludonarrative dissonance going on here.
Yeah. It was not, you didn't make a choice based on what you know about Avalyn and all the stuff you had been through. You made the choice based on what would make the numbers go the right direction.
Yes. Yeah. Which is kind of BioWare.text.
Yes.
In some ways. And the wiki definitely is that in that direction.
Yeah. But yeah, I like my attack on this was like, I'm not here for an argument about this. We literally, we cannot have you coming in here and telling us how to do what we're going to do. And he says their actions are mere symptoms. Your society is the disease. The Arishok is taking it upon himself. Like, hey, we need to impose Qunari order here because what I have seen in the city cannot stand. He asks, what would you do in his position? And I say, I would hand over the elves for arrest because, like, you're here in our city, dude.
Yeah. I said I would just fucking leave.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because I don't know about this fucking book. And he says he can't, can tell he recovers the object, which I barely like learned about.
Yeah.
So he cannot, he orders an attack on you
Yeah.
here, which feels like an escalation,
Uh-huh.
starting a war throughout the city of the Qunari, just slaughtering, people, forcing, conscripting them as you fight your way to the keep.
Yes. And you found like multiple scenes as you learn from the guard who are passing word that the Qunari are gathering hostages at the keep. So like you go from the docks through all of these different wards of the city to get up there. For me, when I got by Gamlen's home, the place where I lived in the first act, you find some Grey Wardens and Carver's here. He's in his Grey Warden armor and stuff like that. There's not much of a chance to talk with him because obviously there's a problem to deal with. Like the Grey Wardens just kind of got caught up in this, but you can tell him, hey, mom's dead. And he's like, oh, I know. Okay. That was awkward.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah. If your sibling is not a Grey Warden, you just run into some Grey Wardens for no reason.
Oh,
it's
fun.
real weird.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're off to resolve a different game that you're not going to learn about.
Yeah.
This is we first meet Knight Commander Meredith here, who is one of the major antagonists of the game.
This is the first time we've seen her 2/3 of the way through the game.
Yep, or Sino here, who show up and save you from she saves you from a Qunari mage. We save the seer, the primary head of the circle here. And they're arguing about who will lead the charge into the keep. And I don't take a side here. I just say I'll do it as well.
Yep. It's like you literally all I've ever heard is you guys bickering with each other. So I'm just gonna take initiative here and try and cut you out of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We head in, and as an opening move, the Arashok throws the head of the Viscount to the crowd.
It's a bold strategy.
It's a bold strategy. Let's see how it works out for him. Calls the people, these nobles here, cattle. That feed without recognizing that the hills are bare.
I mean, he has a point. We talked about all the slums.
Yeah. You do have 4 slums here.
Yeah.
So the way this works without Isabella is you fight him, and then he if you have a high enough approval with him, or if you have Fenris with you, you can do a duel with him. Otherwise, you fight him and his honor guard at the same time.
Yeah.
I had Fenris with me, and I had high enough opinion of the Arashok, so I did the duel fight. Isabella is not part of this, but tell me about the Isabella part of this, because that's definitely more interesting than me just doing this one-on-one boss fight.
Right. So I ended up doing the one-on-one boss fight as well, and I think I would have had high enough approval to get the duel regardless. But we start off by fighting some of his honor guard, and then Isabella shows up to kind of save the day. She's doing a little bit of a face turn here by handing over the relic. She will only do this if your relationship is strong enough with her in either direction. Basically like, if she either likes you or respects you, she understands that she always had the power to diffuse this. Maybe this isn't too little too late. She hands over the book, and the Arashok is pleased, but it's not enough to just get the book back. It's not all's well that ends well. He wants us to hand over Isabella to basically be subject to Qunari law. I recognize I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here because I refused to hand her over when I was asking him to hand over the elves. The only way out of this is a duel with the Arashok, which is real tough when you're a mage, actually.
Yeah, this is hard. Apparently, according to the wiki, mages actually have it the easiest.
Oh, weird.
With this, warriors have the hardest time because he has these huge stunning attacks.
Yeah.
That hit. I had to game this in an absolutely ridiculous way, running around.
Same. I had to
pillars.
I had to kite him and like lure. It was almost like fighting the flame lurker or something like that. I had to like goad him into doing the right attack where he would be caught in an animation so I could get enough distance to fire off spells.
For me, it was all about waiting for recharges, and it made me think of the cooldown on healing and stamina potions, and this is real dumb. Like, I get that they don't want you just to be able to spam heal through a fight, but that's why I did not give justice to Anders, because I didn't want to lose my healer.
Right.
Because it was my only source of healing, and it's on that really, really harsh cooldown. I think there should have been skill tree things that decreased that cooldown.
Yeah.
Or allowed you to spec more for that. Like, it just made this very tedious and dumb.
Right.
Like this thing that was supposed to be this big epic duel that's in the trailer.
Uh-huh.
For this game, was just me figurating around these pillars until my strong attacks recharge or my heal recharged.
Yeah.
So I could fight him. It took me a couple tries. It was the first time I died in the game. I was here.
Yeah. Took me a handful of tries as well before I realized I could lock him into animations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just it was pretty tough, and like it's weird to have these two things at odds, where the duel is necessarily more climactic, right? Here is this main mover and shaker in Kirkwall versus this invader who has brought everything to a head, right? Like that should be the preferable way to do it, and you would think, okay, he's alone. This is like this will be easier. Seems to me the easiest path is to have your entire party there. Like you don't want to get into the duel because like you rely on having the entire party acting as a unit.
It's not that game.
Yeah.
And the honor guard are chumps.
Right.
Like everybody who isn't a boss in this game is a total chump.
Yeah.
So when you do this, as he's dying, he says the Qunari will return. They still haven't done the Qunari game. Like they're not a huge part of Inquisition.
Yeah.
So that's probably Dragon Age 4, if I had to guess, just because it's the big plot thing they haven't done.
Right.
And again, there's that limiting factor.
They may just go back to the Darkspawn.
I would not be surprised. I think that the DLC for Inquisition is about elves.
Okay.
Ancient elves. But it's like, man, give me the Qunari game, because this is definitely the most interesting thing you've ever done and ever will do. So the Qunari soldiers file out. Meredith says Kirkwall has a new champion, as if that's a thing, because it is. Because now you're the champion of Kirkwall. They build a statue of you and everything.
Yeah, you're the defender of the city. You're its paragon.
Yeah. It's a big deal because Aeroshock, that's one of three. There are 3 Aeroshocks.
Yes.
That's a position. So you're just taking out a third of the leadership of this entire people, this entire religion.
No.
We go to the interrogation. Cassandra mentions that Hawke defeating the Aeroshock in single combat is romantic, and Varric accuses her of hero worship.
Yes.
This is going to be characterization that blooms a little bit in Inquisition.
Yeah.
If you're extremely patient.
Yeah, it does pay off in Inquisition.
Yeah.
The character stuff is the thing that you would play Inquisition for.
Yeah.
And Cassandra's a good character.
Gathering 10 of everything is the other reason why you would
riding a horse badly. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cassandra says she believes your story so far, but it goes against the official version that the Chantry had come to believe till the end of the story. And this brings us into Act 3 and the end of this episode.
Yep.
We'll begin to Act 3 and the DLC next episode.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you stick around to hear us talk about the conclusion and the DLC. The DLC is not what I expected it to be, actually.
I'm having a really hard time deciding if I like the DLC or not.
It's tough. I don't like the Assassin one. The Legacy has a little bit more to chew on, but also it has so many hooks into Inquisition that it's hard not to feel that stink on it. Yeah.
It's real lore heavy in a way that it was hard for my eyes to not gloss over. And then it's a big dungeon crawl with traps and puzzles and stuff, but the quote unquote traps, quote unquote puzzles are all like just very dead simple.
Yeah. I'm happy that I did it, and I'm happy I had an excuse to, because like Legacy is where they put the interesting combat encounters. This 2-hour piece of content in a 50-hour game. So
it's weird too, because I'm glad that they got to have their take on a prestige dungeon.
Yeah.
Is how I would call that DLC, but it's still limited.
Yeah.
Like BioWare loved to build these little walls for themselves, and then this mold, and anything they do can only fit in that mold.
Yeah.
So like the combat encounters are more interesting. There are like more interesting ambushes. There's a couple of more interesting enemy types, but that more interesting is just judging on the Dragon Age 2 curve.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this guy is hardier from the front and I have to attack him from the back.
The most basic.
That's fucking
Zelda 1.
Characters that's Zelda 1. And it's finally aspiring to that.
Yeah.
It's really too little too late. Like they really didn't do themselves any favor with the skeleton of this thing.
Right.
I think. So, we'll be back with that next week. That's going to be real fun.
Our premium episode this month will be Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Boy, I'm really excited to go back into the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, where there's incident, and there are more than one conflict. Thanks again. I don't think we shouted out Mitch during this episode, who executive produced this episode. Thank you. If you would like to executive produce an episode or just support us, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah. Where you can support your boys and get a lot of cool stuff in return.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate it. Ratings and reviews on Apple Podcast or Podcast Addict are both very appreciated. Telling your friends, very appreciated.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for announcements about Duckstream very soon.
Yeah. Here, I think we will announce it this week. So, yeah.
And I think that's about it.
I think so.
What should they watch out for?
So until next time, watch out for blood mages or evil Templars.
And no points in between.